Welcome back, everybody, to the Insightful podcast. We gain insight in order to move forward in life. Today is episode 17, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Ty. Ty, how are you doing today?
Great. Lovely, as always.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to get straight into this. So, Ty, can you introduce yourself to the audience and like kind of what you do on social media?
Sure. Uh, I'm an artist. That's how I describe myself, first and foremost. I create art, and the medium to which I create art just happens to be video. And as you know, and as your viewers know, video has garnered a lot of popularity in the recent years. And my artistry just happens to align with where the attention and where the eyeballs are. And I've garnered a lot of success because my passion of creating visual art has my passion of creating digital visual art has just happened to align with the consensus of what people want to consume these days. So I've kind of just, I think I've fallen into a really good position with my career and pursuing my passion and dreams.
For
That's
sure,
kind of who I am in a nutshell.
100%. So, how did you like get started with becoming a digital artist and when did you feel like it became a passion for you? Because many people they'll try something and it won't be a passion like immediately off the bat. When did when did you start it and when did it feel to you that it was your passion?
hmm Um, Back in high school, I took a computer art class, which essentially they taught me how to use Photoshop to manipulate pixels and images. And this was a couple years ago, probably like 10 years ago. So this was before digital art and digital media kind of became prevalent. And I fell in love with the idea of being able to create art from nothing. I didn't need to purchase paint. I didn't need to purchase clay. I didn't need to purchase canvases, nothing. This Photoshop class unlocked the capacity to draw with pixels and to manipulate with pixels, which are free and unlimited, and they don't cost anything. There's no resources involved, and I fell in love with that idea of being able to express what was in my mind onto a digital canvas for free. Just that's kind of how I got into video. Was through that Photoshop class. Taught me that I really enjoyed creating things from nothing, and taught me how to manipulate pixels from a very young age. So I actually got into graphic design before I got into videography. I think videography is a natural progression from graphic design, as videography or video is literally just still imagery laid back to back in sequence. Um, and yeah, so that's how I got my start. Did graphic design, evolved it into video. In high school, I would vlog my experiences in high school. Uh, I had a really tight knit group of friends, and we would go on like little high school adventures. We'd all whip out cameras, and I'd kind of amalgamate the content, put it together, post it to YouTube. Some of that content still lives on YouTube, which I'm very grateful for. It's a really good documentation for my life and being able to see kind of where I started. But like in short, I started by just having fun with it, experimenting, trying to be creative, and it kind of snowballed throughout the years, throughout the last 10 years into like a full blown profession that I do now. Yeah, that's my story.
Nice. So, when you were doing the graphic designing, were you still being like were you working for yourself? Did you see like this opportunity that you have now? Did you always see it coming? Like did you have an expectation of that happening or not at all? Like what was your life like when you were just graphic designing?
Mm. I think I always knew that um, I had discovered a a um, a potent and profitable sort of, what's the right word, industry, a potent and profitable industry. I knew that graphic design and then subsequent video production would be a thriving industry in the future. As a little kid, I just had that in mind. Like, how could it not be? I was kind of tapped into the technological advancements back then of, graphic design, what Adobe was doing, the newcomers into the camera scene and DJI and GoPro. And like, I was always very tapped into the video scene, and I saw it like very much evolving, and I felt as though the video and graphic design and sort of digital art scene was progressing fast. And I recognized that as a kid. Obviously, I wasn't as smart as I am now back then. I just kind of had this feeling that if I invest time into graphic design and videography, it will pay off. And I found, I derived a lot of joy and happiness, and it allowed me to creatively express myself. So, both of those two aspects, I saw a future in the industry and I very much enjoyed it, allowed me to pursue it for the better part of 10 years. I've been kind of on and off here and there, but for the most part, for the last 10 years, I've been creating digital art almost every single day for the most part.
That's amazing. And that's why, like, people got to understand that's why you're so good at it now, right? Because if you've been so consistent over a decade, I truly believe that in order to be a master at something, it probably takes a decade, right? And you've
Yes.
already achieved that at like such a young age because you started so young. My next follow-up question is, when you started with graphic design with digital art, it wasn't something that many people were doing, correct?
That is absolutely correct. And I still don't find that to be the case.
Exactly. So, did you have like any doubters within like your inner circle, within your family, within close friends that maybe said to you, there's no career in this or whatnot? And did that affect you in any way to maybe start to doubt yourself in pursuing that kind of career?
No, no, because I've taken the moral stance from a very young age that pursue I will pursue endeavors that bring me joy and happiness, and I will not pursue endeavors that do not. For the most part, within reason. I always knew that I would follow my passion, and it was, in all honesty, as harsh as it sounds, it was irrelevant to. I was indifferent to the opinions of others for the most part when it came to my life trajectory. Obviously, I do hear people out, and I hear their concerns and all that, but, and this is still the case to this day, my vision for my life is my vision for my life. And there are very few people who can influence the trajectory of where I'm going. And I've had that moral stance from a very young age, thankfully, just due to the positioning in my family and kind of the hardships that I had to endure as a child. I became a very um, strong-minded individual when it came to my future and my destiny. So it's never been an issue. Criticism has never been, not even close to an issue for me personally, because I think I have the fortitude and strength and mental toughness to block that out. And I think you do need that if you want to pursue things larger than yourself or things that may be deemed risky.
I see. What advice would you give to people that don't have that inherent like mental fortitude or mental strength? Because, do you believe that that mental strength was something you were born with, or because if you got it at such a young age, it probably wasn't. Was it something that you created within yourself, even at a young age?
Um, at a young age, I think mental fortitude is not the correct terminology. I think stubbornness is more of the correct terminology. I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
there was absolutely an immature stubbornness in my youth, which I look back fondly on now. Um, but at the time, I'm sure it was hard on my family members, maybe hard on my friends, who, whatever the case is. I did have a stubbornness about myself, um, which I appreciate now because it's put me in the position that I am in to this day. Uh, so, what advice would I say? Confidence is my biggest advice. I think if you have confidence in your skill set, you have confidence in your ability to embark into the unknown, it doesn't really matter what other people say, because if you're confident with a certain pathway, then you're confident with it, right? Other people might not have confidence in you, but if you have that confidence and you have the proof that you can do difficult things, I believe that is my advice to people who are too concerned with the opinions of others. You need to
Yeah.
block them out, garner confidence in yourself, hone your abilities, hone your skill sets, hone your social skill sets, hone your personal development skill sets, all of that. And with that internal fortitude, it allows you to push into the world with confidence despite the sayings of others. And I think that's one of the traits that I hold dearest to myself, is the fact that I can push through noise quite easily, because it's just noise at the end of the day for the most part. And in order to cut through the noise, you have to be a strong knife.
100%. Very well said. I think you said it best. The reason why these people may not have the confidence to try to achieve these hard things is because they may say to the people around them, "Oh, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a soccer player. I want to, start my own business, all these things." But they're just saying it. They don't actually believe it like the way you did, right? So I feel like sometimes they get that confused. They may say to their family or their parents or their friends, "I want to do this," but they don't actually feel it. It seems to me that you from a young age always knew you were capable of more, and no matter what, you were going to make that happen. And maybe that's the difference between you and the people that say they want those things.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And I am not too sure if somebody is lacking that if somebody is lacking that, I'm not 100. I haven't really given it enough thought to say why that is. Why some people succeed, why some people don't, why some people have the capacity to push through major adversity, why some people don't. I don't have that answer fully, but that's an interesting thought, and I think that is what separates greatness from averageness.
Yeah, 100%. So my next question is, like, with social media, did you go into it with like any expectations of how far you would go, what number you would achieve, whatever the case may be? And where's the second part? And like, yeah, that's basically it. Like, did you go into social media posting, making content with any expectations, or did you go into it, I'm just gonna have fun with it, it's my passion, Because I feel a lot of people go into it with expectations. I'm gonna have, 100,000 followers in 3 months, and then they don't reach it, and then they feel bad about themselves.
Hmm. I'm not one to plan anything at all in my life for the most part. I don't believe that. I think that having a plan is okay. Where am I going with that? In short, no, I didn't have any expectations in regards to numbers, sort of any sort of metrics in relation to my social media. But I did go into it with a almost like a chip on my shoulder, where it was, I see all these people doing really well on social media. I have at this time 8 years of video experience. I felt as though that I was just kind of I was trying to prove a point to myself. I saw all these people who I deemed that I had more experience than, and I was like, I just wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it, that I could garner engagement, that I could garner success, that I could garner followers. And I went into my social media push about 2 years ago with that sort of mental framing of, if they can do it, so can I. And that's kind of always been my outlook on everything in regards to life. If I see anybody who has anything, my default is, if they can have it or if they can do it, so can I. And that's exactly how I mentally framed starting on social media. I saw all of these people and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I hit it and hit it and hit it and hit my content and was consistent with that mentality. That was the driving mentality that I had. Didn't care about metrics at all. Didn't care about anything else. I was like, I just need to prove to myself that I can garner some degree of success.
100%. So what I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Going back to it, I think the thing is too is when you have that mindset of like you're deserving of something. Because anytime I relate it to myself, when I don't have something that I want, I come to the terms that maybe I don't deserve it yet. Maybe I haven't put the work in necessary in order to achieve that thing. So do you kind of share that same mindset where you went into social media and you deserved the success you have now because, like you said, you had so much prior experience. So do you believe in that kind of philosophy that you get what you deserve?
Um, Deserve is an interesting term there. I don't think that I deserve anything. I don't think that anybody deserves anything at all. No matter how much work you put in, I don't think you deserve anything. Nothing is guaranteed in this world, and nobody owes you anything.
Yeah,
So that's not necessarily the mentality that I had. I didn't feel as though I was owed anything, despite all of the work that I had put in years prior. Um, yeah, no, I have a strong stance on that. I don't think that I deserved anything, and I'm happy and grateful that my work was recognized for what it was recognized for. Um, But at no point did I expect that, and at no point did I think I deserve it. I
Okay,
still
yeah.
don't think I deserve it necessarily. I don't think that anybody really deserves anything. That's an interesting. Yeah, sorry, I'm picking apart that word because I don't know. I don't think that you're owed anything, and I think you just got to work hard, and you deserve to work hard. You know,
Yes.
you are entitled to your labor. You are not entitled to the fruits of your labor, and I think the fruits of your labor is a byproduct of hard labor. Um, it's an ancillary byproduct. Success is. That's kind of how I look at it. Like I'm pushing through this world with my passion and with excitement and honesty, and anything that comes as a subsequent is just a byproduct. And I'm not entitled to any of it. It's nice that it happens and that it comes, but I'm moving through this world and all of the success and accolades come as a subsequent to that.
Yeah, you saying that it makes me think. I think that's a way more like reasonable and I guess just better perspective, right? Because like you say, you can only really focus on the work you're putting into something, and whatever the result is, you have no control over. So I guess that is a very good viewpoint because like you said, me hearing you dissect it and me repeating it to myself, it actually doesn't make sense, because there's plenty of people that work hard, but nothing ever happens for them, and it's like it's not fair to them. It's like you're right. We don't deserve like anything. We're just kind of lucky to be here and lucky to even have the ability to work hard, right?
Yeah, yeah. I really think it can be surmised in that statement that I made where you are entitled to your labor. You're not entitled to the fruits of your labor. Like that's just the
Yes.
fact of the matter. So
Yeah, the work will
yeah,
always be there.
the work will
100%.
always be there. Exactly. Yep.
So you mentioned in one of your reels about Ikigai, right? And
Yeah.
I actually just finished listening to an audiobook about Ikigai, so it was awesome that I just finished it and then you agreed to come on the podcast. So could you explain to people what Ikigai is, and do you believe right now you are living your Ikigai?
Yeah. Yeah. That's let me think. I do believe that I'm living my ikigai. And would you care to explain what ikigai is? Because there are slightly different definitions, but I know that it revolves around four pillars. So I'm curious what the book that you read, what the four pillars were in the book that
Yeah,
you read.
so basically it's your purpose on this earth, right? And it's the purpose where like it not only from what I can remember, it not only helps you, it helps like the community around you. It also gets you paid, obviously, because you do need to get paid. And I kind of forget the fourth one, but from the principles I do remember, like the people of Okinawa, are very based on living in Ikigai, and they're like the island with the most centenarians, the people that live the longest. So my main takeaway is that like having a purpose and also
Mm-hmm.
like living according to it is like
Mm-hmm.
allows you to live longer. So
I've
I
heard
was
that.
just
Yeah.
kind of asking like what you think people could do to like find their purpose, I guess.
Yeah. And I do believe that finding your purpose is incredibly important. I I speak that to as many people as I possibly can. And I think that that's kind of at the core of all of the content that I try to put out is getting clarity on your aim. And basically, wherever you're aiming, whatever your goal is, wherever you're pointing, is how you will perceive the world. So if you have a positive aim that's noble and it's larger than yourself, you'll interpret the world accordingly. And anything that comes into contact with you will be filtered through that noble goal lens. Um, in order to obtain a strong and noble goal, I do believe there's a tremendous amount of self reflection and honesty, meditation, thought that is required in order to hone what your goal is. And luckily, I do have a great deal of clarity on why I'm here on this earth, the role that I play within my family, and the purpose that I'm kind of destined to do. And for each individual, it's going to be vastly different. And there's no silver bullet as to I could not tell you what your goal is, obviously.
Yeah.
It comes through self-development and self-work, and it comes through self-reflection and honest self-reflection and giving yourself time and space to think about your situations. I believe that it becomes very difficult to hone in on your goal when your days are completely jam-packed with work, with distractions, with vices, with meaningless conversations. When you have a lot of noise and cloudiness in your life, it is very difficult to hone in on your purpose, because I think your purpose is very pointed. It's a needle in a haystack. It is a tiny sliver of light in a vast pit of darkness. And you have to actively search for that pin of light. And all the distractions of life take away from your ability to search efficiently for that pin of light. I've had many opportunities to search for that pin of light, and I've, from a young age, deemed it of the utmost importance to search for my purpose. And I found it, or I think I found it, or at least I'm on the pathway to finding it. Like, I feel really good about it, and that's keeping my wheels turning, and that's keeping my head up. A lot of people don't have it. A lot of people don't even know where to look. They don't even know what dark pit to look into. Like, they have no idea. And the only way to figure that out is to sit down with your thoughts and be intentional about trying to figure out why the heck you're here on this earth. Some little tips that I could give to help facilitate that. I have found a lot of benefit in journaling every single night. I truly believe that it has helped me ride a freaking trusty steed into the darkness. I believe that journaling has allowed me to put my thoughts on top of a freaking, a semi truck, and it has allowed me to cruise around the darkness and find my light. So journaling can definitely help, because writing is just thinking. Writing is the precursor. No, sorry. Thought. I actually don't know what it is, but writing and thought are interchangeable. You can't write
Yeah.
without thinking, obviously. And writing just facilitates that. So in short, put yourself in situations where you can think and where you can write. And I think that's how you find efficiently your North Star or your goal or your aim.
What I want to ask you is a lot of like, are there a lot of people around you that don't have a purpose, or because of the industry you're kind of in, I would assume that like most of you guys have a purpose, right, with the work you're doing,
Mm.
because at least like who I surround myself with, there isn't many people that are like living on their purpose. And when I do try to speak about purpose, they think it's unimportant.
Yeah, that's a shame in my opinion. That's the correct outlook on life. I don't think finding your purpose is just something trivial. I believe that it's of the utmost importance. Um, I think health and purpose, because you need your health to pursue your purpose, and you need a
Yes.
purpose in order to want to tend to your health. So I think those two are kind of interchangeable and of the utmost importance. And I think that health and purpose intertwine in my mind to carry me forward constantly. People in this space, in social media, self development, just like in any industry or any space, you cannot make generalizations. There are tons of people in the social media world who have no clue what their purpose is. You might be able to perceive that they have a purpose, but I think that might just be that it might be a pseudo purpose. I believe that there are a lot of content creators and influencers who are fueled with a pseudo purpose. Engagement, numbers, followers, sponsorships, money. I think those are all pseudo purposes. And it's very easy for content creators to trick themselves into thinking that they found their purpose, when in reality, they are the farthest thing from what they actually have been put here on this earth to do. Because social media and the world around us in 2024 is really good at hijacking our purpose receptors, right? Like, there's a lot of things that we can do that don't align with our purpose, but we've been
Yeah.
tricked to believe that it is that we are making progress on the life goals front. And I truly believe that there are more creators than not who are tricked because it's so freaking easy to trick people online because we are creatures that are not designed to be online. So this is all new territory. And I think navigating social media and navigating online is treacherous. It's a freaking, we are walking into a minefield with a blindfold on. It's terrible. Social media is terrible for the most part. There are some
Yeah,
benefits, but it's a
I agree.
freaking dangerous minefield. Humans are not designed like this is an unhumanly interaction right now. This
Yes, we
is
should be
not
in
how we are
person,
designed. Yes, I shouldn't have your audio being injected into my brain through some, white plastic buds, and I shouldn't be looking at a piece of glass. Like this is all not this is not how we are supposed to navigate the world. I'm trying my best to navigate it, the minefield without exploding anything and without being tricked into going down a direction that I shouldn't be going down. And up until this day, thankfully, I've been successful, I think, at navigating this treacherous online world with a degree of safety. But oh yeah, it's a dangerous place, bro. It's and it's only gonna get more dangerous, I think. And I don't know. I don't know.
I think you said it best, bro, because now that I'm thinking about it, like you gave me some insight, is sometimes maybe we cloud someone being successful with them being on their purpose. Because even though you have success, you have the money, you have the wealth, it doesn't mean you're on your purpose, right? And that's where a lot of people fall into the, getting older and realizing I never really lived the life I actually wanted to live, you know?
Tons of people, bro. Tons of people experience that. And you're right. You said it best. I think it's just a misalignment. They've chased something that doesn't align with why they've been put here on this earth. And I do believe that everybody has been put here on this earth for a certain reason or a multitude of reasons. And I think it's one of the great tragedies of humanity is getting tricked slash pursuing something that doesn't align with what you should truly be doing. And from a very young age, I've been very wary of being tricked and pulled and nagged into a certain direction that's away from my purpose. And if I ever felt, this has happened in my past, where I feel as though I didn't have a strong grasp on my purpose, but there was a shiny object over here. And there have been many times in my life where I've either said no to the shiny object because I didn't have clarity on my purpose and I just felt like a disconnect there, or I pursued the shiny object but quickly took my foot off the gas because it didn't feel right. And, in my youth, I wasn't able to articulate why it didn't feel right, but there have been many opportunities that I have let go by me, and there are many opportunities that I have just completely taken my hands off the wheel of. And now that I know now I know it's because it was misaligned with my purpose. But
So
some
how
people
are
don't
you?
do that.
No, 100%, because they get too focused on that current, like, shiny object instead of what they truly should be doing. So how do you identify these kind of deceptions in your life? And could you give us an example of one? You don't have to, but like maybe one in your life where it was a deception, it was a shiny object, but then you realized that and you moved on.
Yeah. Um. Well, how do you notice the deception? I think the knowledge and education is the answer. Like educating yourself on the fact that there are shiny objects in the world, and then there's your purpose. I think let's get that clear first. Like there's a difference between pathways. One can fulfill you, and one can't fulfill you. So that's like at the foundation of being able to perceive right from wrong. Second is finding clarity on what your purpose is. So the first is knowing that there is a purpose and that you should pursue your purpose. The second is finding clarity on the purpose. And then the third is executing on pursuing that purpose. And that's how I believe you become perceptive to the dangers of this world and to the snakes and the serpents and the shiny objects of this world, is following that sort of framework. And I think I subconsciously did that from a young age, which is I'm very fortunate that I did. But just awareness of the fact that you should be pursuing your life goals, I think. What was the second part of your question?
The second part was I mentioned how do you identify these deceptions, and can you give us an example of maybe
Oh,
like
yes,
even a
yes,
small
yes.
one of
Yeah,
these
yeah. Like
deceptions in your
about
life?
a year and a half ago, I got reached out to by a friend who wanted to onboard me to uh, this crypto company. He wanted me to make content for this crypto company, and it sounded lucrative at the time. He sent me over the contract, and I was promised like a large amount of payment, but in digital currency.
I see.
And at first, I was very like, oh, this is a cool opportunity. This could be a boatload of money. I was kind of excited about it, and this offer came at a very vulnerable time in my life where I was lacking a little bit of confidence in the direction that I was going, and I was very inclined to want to accept this offer. So I received the contract, and I sat on it for 10 days, and I ended up not signing it because I think internally I was being pulled away from my purpose. I knew that pursuing something in the digital currency realm and getting kind of entrapped via contract into this world was not in line with where I needed to go. So I
Yeah,
took my hands off the wheel and I said, I'm sorry. Like, I know I have the contract waiting to be signed, but I'm not going to sign it. So that's an example of me tailoring my life and saying no to things that I think drag me away from where I need to be. And that's what life is. It's about saying yes and no, right? It's about making proper decisions. It's about pushing away the things that take you farther from your goals, and it's about saying yes to the things that take you closer. And moving to Miami next week is, I wholeheartedly believe, that's one of the things that is absolutely going to take me closer to my goal. It's exactly in line with where I need to be, where I need to be moving, and I'm very excited to to pursue it because it's in line with my purpose. And I'm all guns a blazing, right? I'm going out there about to fuck shit up because it's in line with my purpose.
that's what I like to hear, bro. 100%. I want to pin the Miami thought because I want to ask you some questions about that later in the podcast. But isn't it crazy, bro, how nowadays there is so many deceptions and so many distractions? Like, it could be, like you said, other opportunities that aren't your purpose. There's, girls, there's, bad friendships, going out, partying. Because, like, let's be honest here, partying and getting distracted on the weekends and stuff doesn't align with most people's purposes, right? So it's kind of crazy the world we live in. And I think the deceptions and the things knocking you off your purpose is there's just more and more every single day, right?
Yeah. A very intellectual add on to that would be, I do believe that vices, partying, girls, uh, social interaction can be in line with your purpose. I do believe that. And I say that from a point of experience. I was in a fraternity for 5 years. I lived life in accordance with vices, excess social activity. Um, and I actually, thinking back on it, I do believe that, well, first off, I'm very fond of my experience. I'm very fond of my university experience. I look back very highly on my fraternity experience. And I think it's because it was in line with my purpose. It helped me in a trillion different ways that I don't have time to get into, hone my social skills, hone my capacity to understand what vices do to me, have my capacity to understand that I don't want to be partaking in vices in my older years. All of that. And vices, I mean, plethora of things. Uh,
Yeah,
could be, alcohol, weed, nicotine, all of that. I have experiences with that. And I'm so grateful that I do, because it's taught me lessons at an age where I was able to accept it, that I will carry with me into my future. And I do believe that it's in line with my purpose, because now I will be able to more efficiently pursue my goals because I have that experience under my belt. Um,
For sure.
yeah, so all of that stuff is not necessarily bad, and all of that stuff is not necessarily counter to your purpose. It can be beneficial, right, in an indirect way, and that's what I feel for myself. So when I say like get clarity on your purpose, hone your purpose, and just pursue your purpose, that doesn't mean push out every experience that could be deemed bad. I believe that challenges and bad experiences are of the utmost necessity when it comes to sharpening your skill set to pursue your purpose, because triumphing over adversity is how you learn. And yeah, there's a lot of bad experiences and bad situations and sort of bad decisions that you can make that still are in line with pursuing your purpose.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of that too is you went into those experiences with the mindset that you already knew kind of what your purpose was? Because like what's the difference you think when someone allows those things to become self-destructive than the person that like learns from them and takes them as a
Mm.
lesson for the rest of their life?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, since we're having like a conversation on purpose, I do believe that that does play a part. Um, I do believe that having a grasp, even just a weak grasp, on the fact that you are on this earth for a reason can keep you from spiraling into the pits of hell. Um, and that might be the differentiating factor between people who go off the walls with vices and go off the walls with partying and go off the walls with drugs, because that might be the difference. Is that person might not have any grasp at all that they're there that they've been put here on this planet for a greater good. Um, and I believe that that's what kept me from spiraling too deep into any sort of malbehavior, was the fact that I always knew in the back of my head, even from a young age, that, you know, I have to be doing something. I'm here for a
Yes.
reason. I have a duty. I have things that I need to fulfill. So I can't let myself go too much. And that's kind of always been my mentality with everything. I always have something larger than myself pulling me in a certain direction. And some people might not have that. And, you know, I don't have the answer. I don't have the cure other than you got to do some self-reflection and thought, but that might not be the right answer because I'm coming from the standpoint of always having some semblance of clarity on my purpose. You know, this is a major societal issue,
Yes,
especially now.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I don't have the silver bullet, but the best I can do is journal, think, and meditate on what your purpose is, and have conversations. Go to therapy. Therapy has helped a lot for me. I went to therapy for like a good 7 months straight, and I garnered a lot of clarity on my purpose. And we weren't even having conversations trying to figure out my purpose. It was just me speaking about my life and like my experiences and my relation to my family and all of that helped me create an umbrella of purpose that all of my experiences fell under. So just having healthy discourse and dialogue will get you closer to your purpose.
Yeah. And I think a big thing too is you kind of went into that type of lifestyle like intellectually, where some other people go into that type of lifestyle for distraction of their current situation, right? I think that's like a big difference, just like thinking about it, is like you went there, you upgraded your social skills, probably made a lot of really good connections, right? But some people they go and they want to drink all the time or they want to smoke all the time, whatever the case may be, because they want to distract themselves from what's currently happening, right? And I think that's a very big difference.
I agree. I agree. And it comes down to clarity on why you're there, right? Like it's just I think that's the motif of this conversation. It's clarity and
Yeah.
like finding clarity on your purpose. And it's very easy to weed out in any organization. I think it's very easy to weed out people who have uh non-clarity on their purpose because they're struggling and they're degenerates and they're causing trouble and they're kind of chaotic. I think that people need to be pulled in a direction. I think that as humans, we cannot thrive as completely individual units. I think that we need to be like tethered to a to an object that's moving in a morally correct direction. And I mean, I don't, we don't need to have a religious conversation right now, but I do believe that religion as a whole, across its many different variations, is that for a lot of people. I do believe
Yeah,
that people tether their morality to religion, and I believe that religion, for the most part, travels in a positive direction. And I think that,
I agree.
the dissipation of religion in today's society could be a factor, or likely is a factor, for why there's so many people who are morally misguided and kind of spinning their rudders in circles because they haven't found anything of importance or nobility to tether their lives onto. So,
For
yeah.
sure. Yeah, we don't have to get into religion, but like based off the way you're speaking, I'm very curious. Were you always spiritual, or was this
No,
something that you discovered?
I'm not religious or spiritual. uh,
Really?
yeah, no, I'm not. I think, well, I'm 26 right now, and I believe that I'm kind of coming into a curiosity phase of my life. Just the way that I grew up essentially atheist. Um, and there are consequences and benefits that come with being raised a certain way. And I think one of the consequences that come with being raised atheist is that I carry the moral burden of every single one of my actions and all of the actions that I encounter in this world. Like, it's all kind of pressurized onto me. And I think I've handled
Mm-hmm.
that pressure fine. And I think I've done a very good job about managing that. But I think one of the benefits that I'm kind of coming to realize as I get older, and as I hear a lot of my mentors and people that I look up to speak on religion, is that there's this mental tethering to a being or cause larger than yourself. So you become, I've been living this world, I've been living this life as an individual, I think, me and my immediate family. I think what religion does is it kind of opens up that story that you tell yourself, and you become less of an individual and more of a component of a larger being.
Yeah.
Which in turn takes some of the pressure of this world off of you, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that's true. This is kind of just my perception. I'm entering a curiosity phase of religion where, again, as I said, a lot of my role models and people that I look up to speak so highly of religion, and they speak from a standpoint of religion that I am so curious. And there are certainly, as I was mentioning, there are consequences and downsides to thinking the way that I think. There are
Mm-hmm.
benefits too. Um, but I'm curious. I'm a curious person. I like to learn. And religion is like, it's a topic. It's on top of my mind right now because, for so many different reasons.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I ask, and it's due to my own ignorance. But from what I believe, and what I believe isn't the truth, but when you have like purpose and like believing in like God and stuff, in my opinion, is linked together. So that's why I guess I had that kind of assumption on you, like for being spiritual, because the way you speak about purpose and the conviction you have behind its importance, it just made me think, oh, is he must be religious, he must be spiritual, you know?
Mm. I think as an atheist, I did my due diligence to replace the void with something noble.
I see. Makes sense.
And that noble replacement is my immediate family. Like, my mom, brother, and sister have replaced my religion essentially, which got me to the place that it has gotten me. But I
Y-
think as I come into adulthood, I that's a fragile system to base your life on. I've thrived under those conditions for the last 26 years, but I think moving forward, I am curious, and I'm looking with necessity to find something else to tether my morality and purpose onto. I
I
think.
see.
I'm not sure. I'm still discovering this. Maybe when I watch this podcast back in 5 or 10 years, um, you know, in hindsight, older Ty will be like, "Oh, good job, younger Ty. Like you're really you're searching deep for what you need to be searching for." I think
For
that that's
sure.
probably going to be the case
Yeah, 100%. Why do you say that maybe this way of you doing it now is fragile? I'm just curious.
because um well, I think the whole I think one of the big draws to religion is that the 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 object in which you tether to, like the whole concept I think is that it's not fragile. Like I think the
I
whole
see.
concept behind God, the whole concept behind any sort of religious figure, the Bible, whatever the case is they are impermeable, they are impenetrable, they
They're
are
everlasting.
non-moving, everlasting, sustainable through darkness, all of it. I cannot say that with confidence that my family is infallible, indestructible, ever moving. They're not. They are moving. They're shaky. They can be shaky. Something can happen. An
Yeah,
accident could happen. A tragedy could happen. And then what? And then the thing that I've morally tethered myself to has imploded.
I see.
The
Yeah.
Bible is not going to implode. God is not going to implode from my perception of things. So that's why I say it's worked so far. I'm 26
Yeah.
years old. Nothing tragic has happened to the thing that I've morally tethered myself to. But I am one to pad my future and be proactive about the future. And I see it of necessity to at least explore options as to like something else to morally guide me. That's just where I'm at right now.
That takes a lot of humility to recognize that, right? For you saying, seeing it in the future that maybe it might not be the most viable option. Have you always like had this level of humility growing up to the person you are today? Or was it something that you constantly developed?
Um, can you define humility for me in this context? What do you mean by that?
So like the ability to know maybe sometimes that you're not always right, that your way of things isn't always correct. So that's kind of where I'm trying to go with it. Like because
Yeah,
from what it
yeah, yeah,
seems,
yeah.
you're a very self-reflective person, so clearly you have the humility to know when you're wrong and when you're right. So did you always have this?
Um, did I always have it? Probably not. No, I think it's something that comes with maturity. But I think that I gain my humility in this context through looking at the world from the lens of a scientist slash experimenter. Scientists do not get upset when their hypothesis is incorrect because there's nothing to get upset about, right? It's like you had an idea of how something worked. Turns out that that's not how it works. It's just the facts. Like uh, there's not a whole lot of room for a scientist, I feel, to get upset when he's conducting an experiment. And I believe that I go about my life in that manner. I look at myself as an explorer and a scientist. I don't own the facts. I'm not, I'm just finding them. I'm just discovering them. So
Yeah.
therefore I don't hold any true like conviction to my opinions. They can be ever changing based on the new stuff that I discover. That's where I believe the humility comes from. I don't really care if I am wrong or if I'm right. It's like all I care about is this objectively true? Is this objectively helpful for me and my family? Is this objectively going to take me in the right direction? And if I'm wrong, I don't care. I'll find a new direction that objectively is right. That's kind of how I look at it. Life's an experiment. I'm an explorer personally, and there's no room for like getting to. I don't own any of this. I don't own it. I'm just discovering it.
Yes. Yeah, no, the only reason why I ask is it's because it's a very rare trait nowadays in society. Most people, they'll stick to their guns, I'm always right, I'm always right. At least people in my own life, I've seen that hand in hand. They always believe their one way of going about certain things is always correct. So it's something fresh and something new, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you that a lot of people get very buried in their opinions and thoughts. Um, and I think that's dangerous. I think that's dangerous. That's not how I operate, because a scientist can't afford to get buried in his thoughts, because if new data comes out contradicting him, he looks like a complete fool if he just
Yes,
buries his head and is like, no, this old data is the right data. Like, it's, I don't know. I'm just an explorer, picking shit up, and like, if it's right then, it's right. And then if it's wrong later, it's wrong. Then I'll find something new that's right.
100%. So my next question is like, where is it? Okay. In one of your reels, you mentioned about like being afraid of failing, right? What advice would you give to people who want to seek out new challenges but are afraid of failing in those new ventures? Because I feel that's the reason why many people are held back from trying new things.
I love failing, bro. I love failing, man. Uh, you know, in a weird way. Obviously, I don't love the immediate effects of failure. I don't love living in the acute aftermath of a failure. But in the long term, failure is great. And I think that I've put myself in a lot of positions to fail. I've tried a lot of things that might be a little bit weird, or failure is how you learn. And if you never fail, and if you never put yourself in a position to fail, it's very difficult to learn. You can only learn so much from a success, um, but you learn a hell of a lot from a failure. I
So you think
think,
maybe it's like changing your perspective on what failure is, not looking at it as a bad
yeah,
thing.
absolutely, absolutely. Failure is not a bad thing unless it destroys you. That's the only case in which failure would be a bad thing, is if the failure ruins you financially, or it ruins you emotionally, or if it kills you. Then failure can be a bad thing and you should avoid it. But if it's not going to do that, failure is a great teacher. And I think, don't take failure if you're at rock bottom. Don't don't embark on like a bunch of things that will probably make you fail if you're at rock bottom. If you have
Yeah.
everything to lose, if you are not in a position financially or emotionally to accept a failure, then don't embark on a failure. Do things that are within your control and work slowly from there. But if you're on a trajectory of success, if you are emotionally stable, if you are financially stable, if you have built up a life that you're proud of, and you have a lot of rigidity and fortitude in your mental, then you have nothing to lose, so long as the risk isn't that dangerous, right?
Yeah.
And each time you take a risk and you fail, you learn, because you learn what you do and you don't like, and you learn how to maneuver this world more efficiently and more swiftly and gracefully. I think the most successful, and this is like common knowledge, I'm sure you've heard a bunch of reels and shit, like the, the most successful people who own like $1 million businesses, that's like their 12th business,
Yeah,
right?
they
It's like,
failed the most.
it's not their first business. Very few people start one business and succeed. You start 12, you start 20, and then the 21st one succeeds.
Yeah.
Same with content, bro. Like, I posted 30 videos and they all got like fucking 5 views.
Same
And
thing with me,
and then the
bro.
30 and then the 31st video gets 10,000 views. You know, you have to fail a bunch of times in order to succeed. And putting yourself like a controlled failure, right? Like exposing yourself to a controlled failure is very beneficial. And by controlled failure, I mean, like, again, something that's not going to ruin you, something that's not going to
Yes.
kill you. Posting a video online is not going to ruin you, but you can
Yeah.
fail, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's about like basically what you're saying, it's about taking an educated risk, right? Because some people just take risks with the emotional side and they're not thinking about the the potentiality of what could happen. But if you're educated about it and you realize, okay, if this is the worst that can happen and this doesn't ruin me, I'll do it. But if this is the worst thing that can happen and it's gonna ruin me, maybe I shouldn't, right? So I guess it's learning how to take more educated risks.
Yeah, and having the confidence to do so, proving to yourself that you are the type of person to be able to handle failures, and that you can bounce back from failures, and that you learn from failures, and that you become stronger from failures. The more you do that, the more you can do that. That's the beautiful thing. It's like everything in this life, right? The more you do it, the more you can do it. Um, yeah, it's a great skill to work on, and it's something that's been very integral to all of the success that I've garnered. Is I've failed a lot, I think.
For sure, very well said. This is a good segue into my next question is I think in one of your YouTube videos, correct me if I'm wrong, you quit your 9 to 5 to pursue what you're currently doing. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so are you able to speak about that? You know, like what what kind of courage did you have to muster up in order to make that jump, and what did you learn from it so far?
That was incredibly fear-inducing decision. A lot of courage had to have been mustered up. I had to pull from all four quadrants of my confidence bucket. um, I quit in January of this year, and I would say I had to harness all of my confidence that I've cultivated in the last 10 years into like that one decision.
Wow.
Yeah, it was no big. I mean, it was no small task. And it took a lot of push and pull and conversation with people that I care about. And I came to the decision to quit. And something about me is that typically, for the most part, when I come to a decision, because I've proved this to myself in the past that the decisions that I make are honest and thoughtful, and they have been fully fleshed out to the ability that I can. I came to the decision that I would quit, and I didn't look back, and I haven't had any regrets because I trust the decisions that I make always, because I've proven to myself that when I make a decision, they are thoughtful,
Yes.
and they are made in good faith, and they are made with the best intention and the best amount of knowledge that I had at that time. So therefore, I rarely, if ever, do I ever regret decisions, because typically, like, especially a decision that's going to affect the trajectory of my life, I
Yeah.
did the best that I could at the time, and I haven't looked back. And life's been up and down since quitting. January, February, March, 3 months post quitting, I was very lost, I would say. I was very antsy. I was very insecure. Confidence was low because I felt like I used up a lot of the confidence to jump ship.
Yes.
And that's what it was. I jumped ship into the water. I was on a boat. I was on a safe boat, getting paid, doing the same thing, sailing in a certain direction. And I decided I had to muster up the confidence to jump off of that ship. And I had never been really in the water before, and I didn't really know how to swim. So I jumped off the ship, which took a lot of courage. And I didn't care that I didn't know how to swim, because I needed to just, all of my energy was just diverted towards jumping off the ship. And anything that came subsequent to that was an afterthought. And that's something that I'll figure out later.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that January, February, March was pretty rough for me, because I was now found myself in like icy cold water, trying to figure out how to swim and trying to orient myself where I am in this like water. Come like end of March into April, I get, luckily, thankfully, I get like a life jacket thrown to me. One of my clients slash good friends who lives in Miami, his name is Jonah. He offered me a, not, he didn't offer me. He flew me out to Miami to do some work with him, to creative direct and edit content and shoot content for him and his brand for about a week and a half. And I absolutely said yes, and I took it very seriously. I jumped in the life raft that he threw me, and I worked my ass off to stay in the life raft and to show that I was meant to be in this life raft. And I feel like he pulled me in and showed me the land, and on the land was a bunch of gold. And I was like, "Holy shit, dude! You kind of just you saved me when I needed some saving, and you have presented me with a bunch of gold." So I did my time in Miami after jumping ship from my job, and again, I discovered gold. Came back to Vancouver with this new mentality. As the explorer that I am, I came back and told everybody, told my friends, told my family, like, guys, I just discovered gold in Miami. Opportunity came up in Miami for me to move out there. Took the opportunity very easily. And we're kind of here today. I am moving there next week because I'm going to gather the gold that I already discovered. Um, so I've been head up trajectory ever since that life raft was thrown to me in April. But it's been very difficult. It's been up and down. I predict that it's going to be only up from here,
Yeah,
acutely for the time being. Obviously, I'm going to have another down period at some point, but for the foreseeable future, I'm all up and I'm all guns a blazing, and I have clarity on my purpose, and collecting the gold is like a part of that purpose. Um, yeah.
100%. That's a very powerful story, man, because you basically show that it won't be dark forever, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? And you hear about everyone online saying they quit their 9 to 5 and all this stuff, and sometimes they don't share the actual insights of what happened, right? And you sharing your story is very powerful, and I think a lot of people will be inspired by that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
100%.
quitting the 9 to 5 is hard, dude. It's really freaking hard, especially in pursuit of something in the digital world. It's like, again, as I was mentioning in the beginning of this podcast, it's a minefield out there, and it's uncharted territory for humans to be in. So, like, jumping ship is freaking hard, but you very well might find gold. Uh, but you need to be mentally ready to do that, and you need to have confidence in your ability to swim in the deep water on your own for a bit, I think. And I did have the confidence, thankfully. And older me will be very thankful that I jumped ship when I did, because I could have stayed on that ship for many more years, but I decided to
Amazing.
jump off when I did, and I
For
will be
sure.
thankful for it.
That's great, man. So let's talk about Miami. Everyone's saying that Miami's the place to make money. You see plenty of other people hyper successful, so it motivates you to be hyper successful. Are those kind of some reasons too why you want to move to Miami?
Yes, exactly. All of that and more. Um, I say that I found gold in Miami, and I wasn't just talking about the money. I'm talking about the people, talking about the attitude towards life. I'm talking about the sun. I'm talking about the weather. I'm talking about the energy and the vibe that people have, and I'm also talking about the wealth. There's a lot of concentration of wealth there, um, which is palpable. You can feel it, especially you said you're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Dude, Canada's like, it's kind of bullshit if you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, there's just this
Yes.
mindset, I think, of people. Money is like concrete in Canada. Money is like water in Miami. Money flows like water in Miami. And money is like, I'll give you $20, just give me the $20 back whenever, like, because I know you'll give me a $30. Like money is just there. It's there. It's always there. I'll invest in myself because I know I'll get it back. Oh, you want to invest in me? Sick, dude. That's dope. Like, I'll invest in you tomorrow. Like, it's like there's a lot of that money moving, and it's all sort of permeable and flowy. Whereas in Canada, money, you get money, and you fucking you cement it into the ground, and then you put it into your floorboards, and then you never look at it again. And then anybody that wants to access your money can't. And if they do access your money, you have to get a fucking like a jackhammer to get it out of the fucking floor, and then you give it
That's
to
a
them.
good way to put it, bro.
Yeah, it's like it's just the mentality is different, and the U.S. dollar is better. Also, it's like way more valuable right now. I'm also a U.S. citizen. I'm a dual citizen, so like I'm gonna have no issues getting down there and working and staying and living and all that. So that's also a big reason that I'm going. Um, yeah, I'm going all guns a blazing, bro. For all the reasons that you said and more, it's a great place. And the only downsides that I found, because I did my due diligence to like figure out the pros and the cons, the only downsides that people could recommend or state was that it's very easy to get distracted there. Like there's a
Yeah,
heck of a lot of things to do, a heck of a lot of partying, a heck of a lot of drugs if you want to get into that. You name it, you can do
it's
it.
there. Yeah, everything's there, man.
And that was the biggest downside, was that if you are there and you don't have clarity on your purpose, it's very
Yes.
easy to get distracted. But I do have clarity on my purpose. Therefore, I don't foresee myself getting distracted because I'm there for a reason. And partying would detract from that, and it would hinder my ability to pursue. Getting hooked on drugs would detract that and hinder
Yeah.
my ability to pursue my passion. So I'm not worried about that at all. And the crowd of people that I'm entering into are stand up people, from what I can tell in the short amount of time that I was with them. Uh, so I'm freaking ready, bro.
How does it compare to Vancouver in like an improvement standpoint? Like, I guess you can't really put a number on it, but is it like 100 times better than Vancouver when it comes to entrepreneurship? Are you in a kind of a group in Vancouver right now where there's a bunch of entrepreneurs, or is it something that's very far-fetched still? Because at least from where I am, it's still kind of far-fetched. When I speak about it with people around me, it seems like bullshit, right?
I would say on the majority front, it is kind of bullshit in Vancouver. On the
Yeah,
majority front, I'm also saying that from a point of, I don't know all of Vancouver. I'm not in every single social circle, obviously, but I
just
would
based
like to
off your
think
own
that I'm
experience.
yeah, I would like to think that I'm fairly tapped in. I'm fairly in the know of my city. I've been living here for 8 years. Um, and it's not, from what I can tell, it's not entrepreneurial mindset at all. There are some, but again, the Canadian government strong arms entrepreneurs. They put their little paws into everything, and like there's a lot of government sentiment in the money that you can and can't make, and there's a lot of rules and regulations that I think scare people away from embarking on ambitious endeavors. And I truly believe that any Canadian who wants to embark on an ambitious endeavor, as it stands right now, should move to the US if they can. That's a strong opinion for me to say. That's where I am at right now. You know, I'm not in Miami yet. I could get there and realize that it fucking sucks. I don't think that's going to be the case, but
Yeah,
this is my opinion right now. And if you're going to move to the US, I would say move to like a red state, a southern state, because economically speaking, conservative states are booming, and liberal states are suffering greatly. So that's why I chose Florida also, because politically, I think they're very strong right now.
for sure, right? And you're entitled to that opinion. It's based off your own experience. No one could say it's wrong, right? And also,
Yeah.
isn't it a big statistic right now that a lot of Canadians are moving to the States? Like, isn't it more common?
I'm not sure. I don't know the statistics right now, but I can imagine so. I don't know. I actually don't know. I have no idea how easy or hard it is because I've always had the privilege of being a dual. So I don't know what it entails for a Canadian to actually be able to apply for a work visa, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's the
Yeah,
case
true.
that people are leaving Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have like the complete information about it, but I remember seeing some stuff like in the past, like due to the pandemic and all those restrictions, a lot of people were trying to move out of Canada to the States, right? So, yeah, I'm not quite sure either. But that's basically all I wanted to cover for the pod, Ty. But I got one last question for you that I ask every single guest that I have on, and that's Ty, how do you want to be remembered?
Uh, as a good role model for the youth, for younger people, I would like to be remembered as somebody who put on a good exemplification of what a man should be, and then subsequently what a person should be. And I say that with intention. I do believe that I am positioned nicely to be a good male role model for, I guess, a lot of girls and guys, but I think I really resonate with a lot of younger men, or at least that's how I like to position myself, because I have experience being a role model for my younger siblings. Um,
Hmm.
that's how I want to be remembered. Just a good role model, somebody that can be somebody that you can take a lot of, somebody that you can take pride and solace in knowing that your children looked up to. Ty, like that. That was a weird way to word it, but yeah. And also as an artist, those two things: good role model and an artist. That's how I want to be remembered. And I I'm on that pathway. I'm already. I can make the argument that I am already viewed in that light, which I'm so grateful for. And you know, there's the humbleness out the window, but I believe that I'm on that pathway, and I love this pathway. I love it. I love it. It's helped me so much in my life to be viewed in a positive light, and I want to keep it that way, and that's how I want to be remembered.
For sure. Very well said. Okay, Ty, once we're done recording, I'd like you to stay a bit just so you could give me some constructive criticism, but I'm going to close it out here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the episode. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, give us a follow on Spotify, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Take care, everybody.